It's me. I'm the NEET. Oh no.
Everyone, welcome back to the Adcast, a podcast for the study of modern visual culture. Back together again, Soupy, after so long. I'm your Genki host, Renu.
And it is I, Soup, the other one.
The other Genki.
I don't know about the other Genki. I think I fill a different archetype. I'm not sure what it is at the moment, but I'm sure it's there.
The existential crisis.
Yeah, I'm all of the kids in Ava. That's it.
Oh, but that means you're precious.
Yeah, well. I've been known to be. Yeah, I've been known to be precious.
I mean, if I don't call you precious all the time, then, you know.
How will I know? Who will tell me that I'm precious?
Yeah.
Okay.
This week ad stands for Absolute Territory because we'll be wrapping up spring 2019.
Woohoo!
But before we jump into it, what have you been up to?
Hey, I've been up to stuff and things a little bit.
It's been like forever since we've been on an episode together, and that's upsetty spaghetti.
Oh yeah, that's very true. We ran into some scheduling issues because you had con stuff, and then I had to go to a con, and then you had to go to a con, and it was just sort of a big ol' sort of nightmare in terms of scheduling. And
yeah,
you know what? It's just like that sometimes. I think last year also it was a little bit like this around this time period as well. So, you know, it's not anything new. And I think last year we just had to take a break because it just didn't work out. So yeah. I'm glad we at least got episodes out this year.
I'm glad we have friends.
Yeah. Friends are good. Friends are good. I kind of wish that the whole episode had been preserved a little bit on my end and not just half of it. But on the other hand, I'm also grateful that I didn't have to edit 2.5 hours of that.
Yeah, you know, sometimes a short episode works out just fine.
Yeah, sometimes it's a blessing in disguise because as enthused as I was about some of the stuff that I was talking about in the episode, an extra hour of editing is never fun because an hour of like uncut audio is like 2 hours of editing at bare minimum. So, you know, it is like that, but you know, you do what you can. But I have been up to some, you know, fun stuff, some not so fun stuff. Yeah.
Big things.
Obviously, I talked about this last time, but I graduated and I moved back home, mostly. We still have the lease on the place that I was staying at for school until August, like the last couple weeks of August. Okay. And there's still some of my stuff there. Like, for instance, I left my second monitor there because I forgot I only had one monitor here. And I actually have 2 down there and only 1 up here because I'm a fool. Anyway, I could have easily brought another monitor home, but I didn't because, I don't know, I'm bad at things. But I will probably go back down this weekend sometime to do that and bring it back up. But
yeah,
so I'm working off of 1 monitor, which is actually shockingly inconvenient. I always forget this every time I go back to 1 monitor, but like not having a whole separate monitor for like Discord to check your notifications is probably good for me, but also really inconvenient because it means if someone's trying to talk to me, I have to, you know, navigate all sorts of things. Like if I'm playing a game, I obviously have to tab out of it, which is surprisingly annoying because like it can actually kind of wreak havoc on all your windows for some reason. I don't know why. It just is like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been, you know, applying to places and doing interviews. I actually went to one today, which went okay. I think it went pretty well. So, here's hoping.
What kind of positions are you applying to?
I mean, whatever work will accept me. I have a very general sort of degree. I feel like literature is like such a versatile degree. I was going to say such a nothing degree, but it's not like nothing. It just, there's not a lot of jobs that are literature specific necessarily. I feel like it's not like a big field. Like I could look into like publishing stuff and going into like editing, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I'll take what I can get and then see where I go from there. I would like just some job experience so that I can just slap that sucker on my resume if I have to.
Yeah.
Or, if I just have to work that job forever. Capitalism, sure. I'll work till I die. Why not? Or rather, I'll work until the planet dies. Sure, that sounds like
whichever
fun.
comes first,
Yeah, whichever one comes first. We'll see. I was thinking that maybe I would not live to see environmental catastrophe, but it looks like I probably will unless I die right now. And that's not happening because I'm fucking invincible, so...
Why are you tempting fate? Are you trying to tempt fate so that you will die before environmental catastrophe happens?
No, because I think that's an irresponsible way to live. But I am hoping a little bit to get hit by a truck and go to an alternate universe. But, contingency plan.
Your pure isekai dream.
Yeah, right. So that I can go into an isekai, be really overpowered, and I can live my nice pastoral fantasy and not have to think about capitalism until I invent it. Okay. Anyway, I went to Go Play Northwest, which is a thing that I've only been to 2 years in a row now, but it feels like way more because every time I go, it's super, super fun and super nice and emotional and impactful. Oh. I feel like a better person every time I come out of it because I get to see, a lot of my friends that I usually get to hang out with online. And that's like a super nice thing always. I've only ever met you once in the flesh.
I know. What's up with that?
I know. You should come over here sometime because you have a job and right now I don't.
That's true.
So, that's sort of on you at this very moment. The ball is in your court.
Fine.
Yeah. I would love to show you around and we can hang out and that would be super fun.
I might have the funds, but you have the time.
I do have the time. Yeah, you don't have the time. But
so I should just get you a ticket and you can come over.
Right. So I could, that would also work. That would also be a potential thing. But yeah, I don't know. So for people that don't know, Go Play Northwest is a tabletop board game sort of convention kind of thing that takes place in Seattle University. They just rent out the, lobby space and they just put on an event where you go and you hang out in Seattle and I don't know, you just play board games and role-playing games and it's super cool. It's really nice because it's a place for if you want to, bring like a game you've been making and play test it, you could do that. You could just go and play a card game with your friends for the whole weekend, which is kind of what I did because my friends brought a card game that they brought last year called Xseed, and I became obsessed with it a little bit, I think, because I really played way more of that than anything else all weekend. It's a card game that is meant to emulate a fighting game, but, in a card game format. And it's really cool because it's like playing a fighting game, except, I don't have to be good at pressing buttons, which I'm historically quite bad at. So
I feel that.
Yeah, that's super fun. And now I want my own copy. Although the thing that's nice about it is, like, it's kind of a low materials game. Like, if you have a deck, because, like, there's a bunch of characters and each of them has their own deck and you play against each other. So it's kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh! A little bit, where you only really need the cards that you need to play, which are your cards, and you can just kind of go from there, which is nice. So yeah, I want to own some card sets and play this game and indoctrinate all my friends into it.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
And we can all fight each other with cards, and it'll be an anime.
That'd be super fun. You know what? It's on Tabletop Simulator as well, so I could teach you how to play it on there if I wanted to drag you to hell with me. But yeah, I had a really good time because I just got to hang out with my friends all weekend, and we went to karaoke, which is now becoming a tradition. We've done it 2 years in a row, so it's now annual. That's how it works.
Aww.
And it's just a really great time. Like I don't usually get, overly emotional unless I've been drinking. Yeah, you would know that. It's only gotten marginally better since like I have gotten more experience with alcohol, but I at the end of the weekend I did cry a little bit, and that's not something I do often, and it takes a lot for that to happen, so it means a lot to me, I think, and I'm definitely going next year. It's definitely gonna be super fun. And it's one of my most treasured times of the year now.
My baby.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Renu, my actual father.
Yes.
My Papa Ue.
Your
okay.
Papa Ue.
But speaking of vacation stuff, I'm also going on another vacation this week in a couple days. I will be. And I talked about this last year as well. I'll be heading up to a river. I said down last time. It's actually up geographically from where I am. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be nice because that's in contrast to Go Play, which is like kind of a hectic sort of cram as much hangout time with your friends as humanly possible into like 3 or 4 days, right? This is, I hang out with some people that I've known for like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years at this point, maybe 8. I'm not counting any, like 9, I think 9, 10, maybe a decade, maybe just a whole ass decade. And then we're gonna go laze on a river and drink beer and play music. And God, in contrast to Go Play, it is the most relaxing time of the year for me.
That'll be a nice wind down.
There's never a time more relaxing than time on the river for me. I have also been playing Grand Blue as expected. And I just finished explaining this to some people, but the way that Grand Blue works is there are certain things that are very, very grind heavy, even in comparison to all of the grinding you do in the game.
Okay.
One of which is something called Violet Prisms, which is really annoying because while it's a material that comes in most content, like passively, so you kind of accumulate them over time, when you start doing some of the grind heavy content in the game, like unlocking the Eternals, which are like really powerful characters, well, you need a lot of them, and you can trade 10 of them in the shop every day. But if you haven't been playing for, as long, like me, you do not have a lot of them, and you have to do a quest to get them, and it drops exactly 1 per quest, basically, and you need 500 at least. So
why?
I'm currently
I'm
currently 300 out of 500.
Soupy.
Okay, but in all fairness, it's a very easy quest. You can set it on auto and forget it. And it takes like maybe 20 seconds to do. You just have to do it. And so what I've been doing is I've just been doing I've been settling into the summer routine of just opening Grand Blue and like clicking it so that it goes, and then watching stuff on the other half of my screen. So,
but you have to like activate it every 20 seconds, right? If it takes 20 seconds to complete.
I mean, yeah, but like, your brain eventually turns that part of it off.
Right.
So it's not that bad, honestly. It's just going to take time. That's all. And the only reason I'm doing it at this accelerated pace is because I decided I would unlock a character before Guild Wars, which is the player versus player grind fest event. And he would be a useful character to have for that event. So I'm going to grind so that I can grind. So that I can.
That is the gacha game.
But that's the gacha game, and that's what I do. And honestly, like, I would kind of be bored without it, to be perfectly freaking honest. Like, I'm really bad at not having things to do. I could be doing something more productive. And it doesn't matter. We're not talking about Granblue anymore. We can't talk about Granblue anymore. What have you been up to?
Let's see. I've been to several conventions since we have last spoken.
Yeah, that's evident.
Yeah, considering I wasn't here. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Got to, travel around and kind of take a break from work and all that, which work has been like really busy as of late. Like, I have a deadline tomorrow.
Yikes.
Yeah, so it's been crunch time going in on the weekends and all that. It's fun. But other than that, I started playing Judgment, which is so fun.
Oh, that's the cop version of Yakuza.
Yes, it's the detective version because he's not a cop.
Oh, he's not a cop, he's a detective.
Yeah, it's literally like if the Yakuza team decided that they were going to make their own version of the Phoenix Wright games.
Oh my god. You know what? I have seen some caps from that game where they do make objection poses. So that's something, I guess.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. It's set in the same city as the Yakuza games, so it's set in Kamurocho. And they have like the same like Yakuza clans like fighting it out and stuff. You are like kind of related to them, but you're not, living out your life as a Yakuza member. You're a lawyer who the whole premise is that you start off as a defense attorney, and you are one of the rare defense attorneys who actually wins cases in Japan.
Yeah, right.
Because they make it, they set the background in terms of like, most 99.9% of cases in Japan end up prosecuted, and they, defense attorneys always lose, that kind of thing. But you're the one who wins, and so everyone wants to hire you. Yeah, you're Phoenix Wright. And but then it turns out that one of your more famous cases that you recently won, the person from that, the defendant, he ends up getting arrested for murdering his girlfriend and setting their flat on fire. And so your career as a defense attorney is shattered. You decide that you're going to leave the law and you're going to become a detective. Because you don't want to defend possible scumbags anymore, So you end up getting embroiled in this serial murder case where people from the Yakuza are turning up dead, and they're all from a certain clan, and they all have the same MO where they end up being left somewhere and their eyes are gouged out. And so you're in the pursuit of whoever the heck this person could be, because he's turning up in all of your cases. Like this is just becoming a thing and you can't ignore it. So it's really interesting. He's definitely a different protagonist than we've seen from like, Kiryu or, Majima, their own thing. And his fighting style is very much grounded in kung fu, which is
okay.
Super
I was
awesome.
gonna ask if he does fight people.
He does fight people. It's still by the same team.
Okay, I'm just making sure that part is sort of intact.
No, you still get like embroiled in random street battles, which makes a lot less sense considering this background. Like, you're a detective guy. Why do you need to fight street battles? You're not a Yakuza thug. Like, it kind of makes sense that people would pick fights with Kiryu, but not so much Yagami. But his fighting style is very cool. It's so nostalgic because I used to take kung fu, and so like he right now I've only unlocked the tiger style and the crane style, And so Tiger style is more used for like solo combat. You fight one-on-one kind of thing with that style because you can break guards and stuff like that. With Crane style, it's a lot more like swoopy with the kicks and all that. So that's more if you have like multiple enemies. And the way that they have dressed him and the way that he fights is very, very reminiscent of old school Jackie Chan movies. So he's got like the blue skinny jeans and white tennis shoes, and it's so good. And his whole character model is based off of Kimura Takia. So unfortunately, which is, I guess maybe they couldn't afford him to actually sing in the game, you don't have karaoke in this game, which makes me sad.
No,
it breaks my Kokoro. It's like you have an actual singer starring in your game, mocap and everything, and you couldn't afford him to sing. It's okay. He's expensive. He's a star. But yeah, it's a lot of fun so far. I'm looking forward to playing more of it because they do have quite a few different mechanics compared to the usual Yakuza fare. Like you do a lot more tailing missions, you do a lot more investigations, and all that kind of stuff. And there's a cat cafe. I haven't unlocked it yet because I'm only like 6 or 7 hours in. But there is a cat cafe. You can buy cat food. I'm assuming you use it at the cafe, and I'm really excited.
I've actually been to a cat cafe now. Not a one in Japan, but there is one in Seattle.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's really cute because they're all like sort of what's the word for them? They're like cats that have can you call cats like orphans? There's a word for this, I'm sure, but yeah, they have like I think all of the cats are basically like quote unquote reject cats because they have they've been tested positive for like feline AIDS.
Oh.
And they have them in the little like cafe, and you can adopt them if you want.
Oh.
And it's really, really cute. So it was a very wholesome experience. It was the middle of the day, so the cats were all really lazy and sleepy, which is to be expected, but you know,
sure.
I got to pet a couple cats, so I would say I'm pretty happy about it. Yeah.
That's cute. I want to go to one.
Yeah. Judgment sounds really, really cool.
It's fun.
Interested in how that team handles like, because it is like pretty much exactly on the other perspective of like a Yakuza game. So I am curious about how that is handled, because Yakuza games are, I feel like, a very specific sort of have a specific feel to them.
I'm fine with the atmosphere and everything, and the way that they're writing the story is quite interesting. The mechanics themselves, like the whole like stealth, like tailing portion. You can also race drones, which is interesting.
I mean,
because
yeah,
you use
but
a drone to collect intel.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, you know, it's Yakuza.
Yeah.
What would a Yakuza game be without mini games galore?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to unlocking more. But yeah, it's they're kind of clunky, like the stealth portions and stuff like that. The investigation portions are pretty slow. It's kind of like, for the investigation, you kind of like look around in first person around a scene of a crime or something, and then you like wait until your cursor like vibrates or hovers or like whatever, and you find a clue, like that kind of thing. It's kind of like in the Phoenix Wright games where you're like they bring up like a photograph and you have to like hover over a certain area and like pick up a spot, and then it's like, oh, that's the clue or whatever. It's kind of like that, right? So it's not super interesting, and they kind of take a while. So there are things that I think they could iron out and make better, especially because it's not built from the ground up to be like a detective sleuth action game or whatever. It's built to be just a pure action game, like the engine that they're using, right? Because it was for the Yakuza game. So I'm interested in seeing like how they develop the engine going forward, because it's still it's still a great game, and it's beautiful. Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. Like the city is just always like breathtaking. I think it's a good like foray into something new for the studio so far, at least. And I'm really, really excited to see more of the game and what more stuff they do with this engine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It sounds like it sounds a lot like Sleeping Dogs, which I know people have always wanted a sequel to. So
yes. Oh my god.
There you
yes.
go. Sleeping Dogs also had karaoke. Sleeping Dogs was such a Yakuza derivative. Like it's so. Anyway, I have a friend that loves Sleeping Dogs. I'm gonna tell him to just binge Yakuza. Yeah.
For
also,
sure. Yeah.
completely off topic. 100% non sequitur. But I've almost certainly edited out all the sounds at this point. But the family printer is in this room, and I don't think it's ever gonna leave. And it's just I'm gonna lose it. I hate when it goes. I feel like normally this won't be a problem because who sends like faxes on Saturday which is the day we normally record, by the way. But it's like a Tuesday, so I don't know, work hours, I guess. And anyway, anything else? What else have you been up to?
I mean, that's basically it. I've covered all the stuff that I want to talk about. So
okay, sure. Let's talk about anime.
Anime. We kind of finally wrap up the season.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, we're not as late as we have been in the past, because this episode will be going up basically around episode 1 or 2, possibly 3 of the summer season, and that's just because of the way that the schedule works. So, Yeah. So I guess we can talk about part 5 of JoJo's, huh? I don't know if you finished the anime portion. I didn't, because I read the manga and I didn't really feel like retreading it immediately. So
that's fair. I have watched up to I'm all caught up on the anime.
Okay, isn't that the last episode out?
Ish. They're doing a break right now, but they're gonna resume at the end of this month.
Oh, weird.
With hour-long episodes. And I guess they're going to sprint to the finish.
Double weird. Okay, what part does it leave off at?
Wild. It leaves off of spoiler warning ahead, I guess. But,
we're not a spoiler-friendly podcast.
Yeah, we're not a spoiler-friendly podcast. It leaves off where Giorno gets the arrow.
Oh, he gets the arrow and that's it?
Yeah, he gets the arrow. He unlocks the ability. And then they're like, and then that's it.
That's it.
At least that's the main significant thing that I remember.
Wait, okay. Hold on. Are they going to do more than 1 hour-long episode, or is it just one?
I think it's more than one. Yeah.
Really? I feel
I'm not sure though.
Okay. I mean, to be fair, they might do some stuff with the anime that like I don't remember from the manga or didn't happen in the manga. It would be nice if we got some more epilogue than they give you. Although, to be fair, I think that the part 5 epilogue is actually quite good in how succinct it is. I didn't think there was like that much more stuff that could Oh. No, hang on. I know why they're doing an hour long. Okay. All right. I've got it.
You got it?
Yeah, I understand now. Okay.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure continues to be bizarre and an adventure, and JoJo's. It's good. There's a 7-page Muda animated, and it's good as hell.
It's really satisfying.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like, anytime they kind of, like, barrage attack for a long time, it feels like, oh, yeah, get it. Oh, yeah. But the Muda is good because the villain on the receiving end of that is particularly nasty and, mean.
Mean, though.
He's mean, so he deserves to be Muda'd for 7 pages. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I feel like there are some issues that I have with part 5 in just how not connected it is to any of the other parts. Like, it feels like such a detour part.
It is its own thing, yeah.
Yeah, because I'll spoil this right now about part 6. It never comes up again, which is Well, it kind of does, but not really. It's kind of a bummer, honestly.
Interesting. Yeah. It is an interesting foray into something different as Araki does. So, I mean, I'm glad that he's always kind of keeping it fresh in his own way. And I think that at least for part 5, like, there's going to be people who love it and there's going to be people who don't.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
I think that's fine. Yeah.
I think the part itself is good, I think. Like, yeah, I like the part a lot.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously would not have sought out the manga to finish the week-to-week stuff that was not airing at the time because I was between weeks. So, like, I obviously enjoyed it. It's just, I always feel a little disappointed when Giorno never comes up again, because I like Giorno. So.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, I mean, that's whatever. Anyway, JoJo's. It's still JoJo's, and we should still talk more about JoJo's, because I, in the process of editing, realized that we almost did nothing about talking about JoJo. Like, we scratched.
You mean?
No, we talked for so long, and we scratched so little of the surface of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's just because, you know, that's the nature of it. I think what we should do is we should take it part by part.
That would be good.
Yeah, I think we can.
Like we had our introductory to JoJo's, and then we had like a whole episode for part 1, part 2.
We had our overview, and now we can do part to part. But you know, that's later down the pipeline. You know, that's a lot of episodes we can talk about JoJo's. So you know, yeah, I would say that part 5 is pretty good. The anime was good. I think the anime of JoJo's is consistently pretty good.
It is consistently good. I've enjoyed the animation quite a lot across the board.
The thing is, JoJo's is interesting because it intrigues and fascinates me despite having like basically zero fight choreography, because it's just like rush attacks where they go what.
Yeah.
But I think it's just like, it just goes to show how much it's not necessarily about that. And how it's much more about all of the weird shit that happens and all the weird stuff that the stands do. And also, like, just the sound design is really, like, going a long way to make that sound satisfying.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. The music choice is also consistently very good. And also, like, very weird for a Japanese show, because Araki is a little bit very weird for a Japanese man. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Dororo.
Dororo.
I assume that you've seen more of this than I have, because I haven't continued it from the last time, and you have.
Yeah, I think I'm only maybe like 3 or 4 episodes away from the current update.
Yeah. I didn't get that far. I stopped episode like 18, 19, I think, something like that. It's okay, first of all, it gets really fucking wild for a show that is already about, like, killing demons with your sword arms.
With your sword arms,
with your sword arms, because there's a part where, like, a boy is raised by sharks a little bit, I guess. And he, like, he feeds his arms to sharks so that they listen to him, and now he feeds them people, because that's a thing that happens in the show, I guess.
I wish I had watched that episode with you, because, like, as soon as I saw that shark, I was like, oh my god, Soup!
Oh, okay. So, like, and this is, by the way, I guess, broader reaching news about the whole thing, which is that, you know, because Rabbit is not being maintained anymore and is just eventually going to, you know, like old Batoto, be sort of abandoned at sea to turn into a deserted ghost ship and one day just succumb to the sands of time. Well, we've had to resort to some other stuff, and there are other options, a lot of which are not good. Some of which are very specific, some of which just didn't flat out work for us. Like, Metastream did not work for us for some reason. We could not get it to show on all of our screens. It was only ever most, and that was weird. We've tried Discord screen share, and that's what we're currently using in a group chat that I'm hosting. but that presents the problem of, for some reason, Discord will attenuate, which is it will lower the volume of the thing that you're watching.
Yeah.
When you talk, which is a problem. And I get why they do it, but I don't like that there's not an option to fix that. And there's, some stuff that's like weird about like how the servers are hosted. And I think there's like a workaround where you can get it to play in a server on a bot, which we're looking into, or I'm looking into when I have time. And
maybe we can find something that would fix the attenuation that someone else has made that, Discord or whatever
it doesn't look like there's a solution for the attenuation, but I think that the solution will be to have a bot host it, because in that case,
in that case, it won't attenuate your volume. Yeah,
the bot doesn't talk. So anyway, who knows? We'll look into this, because it's kind of a giant pain that Rabbit is like the only one that just sort of worked mostly, and now it doesn't. But oh well, what can you do? Kind of a bummer, honestly.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we watched a little bit of Dororo. I was going to watch the last couple episodes, like I was going to binge the rest of it, except it's hosted on Amazon Prime Video, and today, the day that we are recording, is the second day of Prime Day, aka the second day of the worker strike in, boy, I can't remember the state, but I think it starts with an M. Minnesota? Michigan? There's a strike going on, basically, in the Amazon factories, because, Jeff Bezos, richer than God, for some reason doesn't want to share his money with anybody and pay people a living wage and make them work in conditions that don't involve peeing in water bottles so that you don't get fired from your job. Capitalism bad. Jeff Bezos, eat your goddamn heart out. I did not watch the rest of Dororo because it was hosted on Amazon Prime. So I'm just going to come out and say that. But I mean, it's a small show of solidarity. There's a fund for the organization that organized the strike that you can donate to. I'll definitely put a link to that as well, so that you can help tangibly in other ways other than not doing something, which, has historically been maybe a 20% chance of anyone caring on when they have power. Turns out when you have power, you don't give a shit about most things. That's depressing. Anyway, about Dororo. About Dororo, and not about late-stage capitalism ruining everything in this country.
Yeah, instead it's samurai.
Yeah, instead of samurai and corrupt power and officials and crap, it's all the same. I'm just kidding. Okay. So in sort of concrete detail about the show itself, I think it actually takes a dip in quality in the middle.
Oh, it for sure does.
And I'm not sure why. There might be reasons surrounding working conditions. Looking at you, labor unions, you could, maybe do a little bit of helping in making anime a not terrible hell pit to work in. And I'm sorry, that's not late stage capitalism. Oh, geez, it's just so hard. I like the way that the story is progressing.
Yeah, me too. I wasn't sure. When it started dipping, I was like, oh dear. But then it picked back up with Shark Boy and all that jazz.
Yeah, and that's fucking wild. But I think the story stays pretty consistently good, even if the animation takes a little bit of a dip. Honestly, I don't care that much.
As long as the story itself is maintained, then I'm fine. I do think it's disappointing, when the fight scenes take a hit, because it's kind of like, One Punch Man, where it's like, it's really freaking cool to watch a dude with 2 sword arms slice things up,
Yeah, you can definitely tell what's at the beginning of the season, or what's at the beginning of the work pipeline and what's at the later end of it, because there's just basically zero choreography that happens in the latter part, which is again a disappointment, but I also don't super mind it, I guess, if it means that people aren't being worked to death, as animation is known to do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
listen, I care about the way that it's made as just as much as
I mean, of course,
the quality
yeah.
of it.
I'm not, I don't know what's going on their end, but I do hope that the people there are being treated right, no matter what.
Yeah, I think if you're into the conceit of the show, like the supernatural samurai sort of like travel narrative,
Yeah,
it's still pretty good, honestly. I would definitely recommend it. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So next, speaking of, let's talk about One Punch Man season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty good, I would say.
pretty good.
Pretty good.
I was, it's again, it is like kind of like Dororo. It had a dip in animation quality, but unlike Dororo, it's because it switched hands.
Yeah, and like
which we
not
talked
just
about.
hands, all of the hands, like the director,
the
the
hands
animation
are off.
studio,
Yeah.
the staff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as it goes, I liked season 2 of One Punch Man. Like, as soon as I was able to temper my expectations coming off of season 1, season 2 ended up being like really enjoyable. So,
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah.
you know, you just have to
it's
like,
not like
you know,
right. You have to temper your expectations and know that it's obviously not going to be season 1, and know that like the story is obviously still there, and the staff does care about the story. It's not,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
if it doesn't look as good as season 1, it's not because they don't care, right?
Yeah,
and so they do
yeah.
treat the characters with a decent amount of respect and all that. I don't think that they did a bad job. I mean, it was going to be hard no matter what. They were never gonna measure up to, I don't think, like in the same way as what season 1 is, because they're different, you know?
Yeah, it's a different studio with different talent.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be,
Yeah.
it's gonna look and the directing too. Like when you switch directors, that's probably like one of the biggest things you can do
Yeah.
to an anime.
Yeah.
So definitely not as dynamic as season 1 was, which was, you know, obviously like an absolute joy to watch. But season 2 is still good, and like I think it benefits a lot from still being One Punch Man. Like it because it's carried so hard by like the characters and the world and the story. It's like they picked it's a God, I have some complicated feelings about it, because I think they, on one hand, I would have loved to see Madhouse take on this arc, because Garo is such a cool villain to have.
He's a great antagonist. Oh my goodness.
But I think it also works with what JC Staff did. Like I think
Yeah.
visually they did their best given the
Yes.
circumstances, and they did admirably. Obviously
Yeah.
not as good, but like, you know, it's just gonna be different. They put a lot of money
Yeah.
into that CG centipede. Put
Dude,
a lot
that CG
of money in that centipede.
was so much.
It looked really good, but it felt
was,
like that
shocking.
was. But it felt like that was the best looking thing in the season, which was
Right.
kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I will say, like, I think on some level it does go back to the roots of One Punch Man, of it was never necessarily carried by the art anyway. So
Right, exactly. Yeah. I think I feel that too. And I do think that they actually got better as the season progressed, which I don't know how their development cycle went, but the fights towards the end were much better than the ones that we started out with.
oh yeah, they were definitely like at the beginning of season 2, I wanted to like
Yeah.
it a lot more than I ended up liking it, but by the
Right.
end of it,
Yeah.
the like quality of it had gone up and my expectations had gone down, so it really evened out to an enjoyable experience.
Yeah. Which I'm interested in seeing, because I'm sure that they'll make a season 3. I wonder who will pick it up, if Madhouse will be free by then, or
Right.
if they'll have to rely on another studio, or if it'll be JC Staff again. I don't know.
That would be
It'll be
that's
interesting
a
to see.
very interesting question. Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly think like having JC Staff do season 3 would not be the worst thing, and it's, I don't know, probably likely, honestly, if for no other reason than just it seems like the staff was like free and willing to do it, so they did. I I would like to see Madhouse do season 3 just because the climax of the Garo arc is probably going to be good.
That's what I want. I want to see the climax of the Garo arc in their hands. I understand if they aren't able to take it on, but it would be really cool.
Mind you, because of Murata's adaptation of One Punch Man only being so far, it's still going.
That's true. They wouldn't be able to base it off of Murata's artwork because he hasn't gotten up to that point yet.
Which is funny because actually that was a complaint of season 1, which is that some of the shots in season 1, like some of the directing, wasn't even as good as the manga panels that like preceded. Right. Which is like, okay, yeah, but Yusuke Murata is like a god amongst mangaka. Who knows where this man crawled out from to create, but he is on a level that like is just beyond whatever.
Yeah.
It's weird. He's weird. Anyway, yeah, it's surprisingly good. The character is good, voice acting great, sound design really good. Actually, the sound design was fantastic. Mm-hmm. In a lot of ways, it did remind me of JoJo's in the fight scenes, where like it just kind of comes down to like, this is my attack, now this is your attack, now this is my attack, right?
Yeah, a lot of tradesies.
But you know, I didn't hate it, and it was good, and the story I like. I don't know, I just really want to see the end of the Gaara arc at this point, so like...
Me too!
Whoever handles it, like, go for it.
Do it!
I don't know how it ends, but I'm pretty sure it's over in the original webcomic, and I think One is starting One Punch Man up again, since I think he ended Mob Psycho. So...
He did.
Yeah, anyway, yeah, One Punch Man... One Punch Man. What are the words that just came out of my mouth just now? What was that? Sorry, let me try.
Season Man?
Let me try that again. One Punch Man season 2 was pretty good. Fantastic. Let's move on.
So next, we have the Furuba remake, Fruits Basket 2019. And I love it. I was a little worried, but it turned out amazing, and I love it.
Yeah, me too. It's really good.
It's so good. Oh my god. It's of course, like, the story of Fruits Basket itself is just good, right? Like the art was always like kind of like that. I mean, it's fine because it's, you know, very reminiscent of that era.
Yeah,
you know,
it's very of the time.
Of the time, right? But it was always about the story, and I think the anime studio, like, they handled it like so well, like so faithful and so good. Like, oh my god, I experienced all of the emotions all over again from when I read it. Like, yeah. Oh my god.
I've never read it, right?
Yeah,
but I have watched. Yeah. I watched the anime a long time ago.
Right. Same. Yeah.
But. It's really good, and I kind of forgot how heavy it is sometimes. Right. Like, it gets really dark, and I'm like, oh shit, I did not understand this as a kid, but holy, that's a lot. It's very clean, I'll say. Like, the adaptation is very, very clean. I think it's safe. Yes. Like, they didn't take any risks with it.
No, yeah.
But it's good enough to be something that stands on its own without needing to.
Right. I think they just wanted a faithful adaptation with a more, you know, faithful look to the original mangaka's artwork. Mm-hmm. But also, like, with modern day, like, animation quality, right?
Oh yeah. So
it's wonderful seeing, like, all of these old nostalgic tropes, but with today's animation quality.
It's actually really nice. Yeah. I agree. It's it on one hand, I have to, like, contend with the sort of violent recollection it gives me of, like, 2008 every time I watch it. But on the other hand, you know, it reminds me why I like that time and stuff from that era. Yeah. And it's really charming still, and it's a lot gayer than I remember it being, even. Which is surprising. Like, actually surprising to me because like it feels. God, maybe it just feels like we haven't moved forward in terms of anything like that. But like, you can definitely read it as a metaphorically queer story, which is like really cool. Like,
yeah,
I didn't realize that when I was like, 12 or 11,
right.
But as a young adult now, who is like sort of keyed into that. I can see now it's like, oh, like these are people that, live in kind of a like very, very traditional, very restrictive lifestyle because they are in very complicated circumstances due to the circumstances of their birth, oftentimes with their parents like not accepting them and like rejecting them or being overly protective of them, which is another dimension of it. And all of them are, how should I say this, not like very coy about the ways that they like confess to each other. So yeah, it's very gay.
I love it because it's such a great expression of or exploration of these characters' like feelings versus like trying to push some kind of like hard agenda, right? I feel like sometimes shoujos and shonens tend to fall into these like these traps, these trappings of like, I have to make sure that my character is as straight as possible, or something like that, right? And this show is less about like enforcing all of these stereotypes or whatever, and just is more about like, oh, this character feels this certain way about this character, and you can interpret it as you will, but they're very close, and you know what? That's fine. Well, it doesn't have to give you all these hard answers about, oh, I'm in love with you,
right?
Whatever.
What I really like about it is that it is like a lot of the times the feelings that they're expressing are really vague, but like in a way that's not like queer baity, I guess I could say. Like it doesn't feel like it's in a way where it's for the plausible deniability so much as it's actually expressing how vague an emotion love can be. Like, yes, I super love the fact that the feelings that these characters feel for each other, and they're like very complicated and dynamic, and they change all the time, but they're very fluid, and they're not like very hard to define. It is about love. It's about wanting to date somebody, but also just like wanting to be someone's family or their friend, or wanting just to spend time with somebody and be around them for a long time, and not necessarily in a romantic way, but in a way that could be perceived as like, it's very like the love is very free flowing in this show, which I'm really about, and I like that it's not so hard and forced about what kind of love it is.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like Fruits Basket. It's super good. Like, honestly, everyone should watch Fruits Basket. It might not be your cup of tea, and if it's not, you don't have to watch it. But like, boy, this is a pillar of shoujo for a reason. It is gold standard right there. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, now do Oran.
Do Oran.
make one, but Oran.
Please, we're missing an entire second half of the manga.
Okay, I actually read the manga for Oran High School Host Club, and I really want an anime.
I really want the rest of it animated so badly
because it gets pretty wild, especially in the epilogue.
Yes, oh my god.
Anyway. So yeah, Fruits Basket. We both love it. It's super charming still, and it's super good.
It is.
It has aged like a fine wine.
I think if you're tired of certain types of shows that you feel like it's getting kind of samey, then Fruits Basket is definitely worth a revisit. Like, surprisingly, you would think that it would be like super cliche, tropey, whatever, and you'd be tired of it because of that. But it's more like it's somehow maintains its own thing, and I think that's what makes it such a classic. Is that it's still original despite however many like, oh, this, I feel like I've seen this a million times in other anime, but it feels like it was like the original kind of thing.
Yeah. It's super good, and
Yeah.
I don't know, you should just watch it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about Kimetsu no Yaiba.
Super shonen awesome.
I
the opposite end of Furuba.
I fucking love this show.
It's really, really great.
Holy crap. It is so good.
Yeah. Like shocking. Like I don't think our standards, like our expectations were super high for this show. And so when we started watching it, it kind of like blew them out of the water. And then on top of that, it kind of capitalized on that and just kept getting better.
Yeah, there's a lot of things about, and like there are a lot of things to unpack about this show. And I've read the manga also, so I'm not going to talk too far into the manga, but we will talk about the anime that we have been presented with. I think that it's very, very well done, especially for a shonen, for an adaptation of a shonen.
Yeah.
Having read the manga, it's also really good, but the anime is a like really good adaptation of it. You know, it's not necessarily a 1-for-1. It's definitely adapting it to anime, but you know, it's UFO table, so it looks fucking gorgeous. The effects on the swords that are like really hella 2D in like the sort of pseudo 3D space is really cool.
It's so cool to see. Oh my god.
Yeah, it has a very strong style to it that is it's so good.
Yeah.
And the pace of it is blistering.
Yeah.
It's so it goes so fast that you literally watch like half of the episode and then you realize, oh, that was the whole episode. And by the way, the manga also goes that fast, and it's almost too fast, but it's like just enough that it feels really engaging. I think in a lot of ways it's like all of the strengths of Black Clover, but it is better, in my opinion, because it is it doesn't feel as much like a traditional shonen, even though it really relies on traditional shonen conventions.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it has its own thing going on, which I am super interested in. Like, why does it feel like a fresh take on it, right?
The entire vibe of it is super different. And
yes.
And like I think that part of it is that, first of all, there's no fat to it. Like, all the fat is trimmed off. Any time that is spent like training or resting is basically elided over, right?
Yeah.
Like, there is about half an episode, I think, where he spends like training, or like an episode or two where he spends training, and then 2 years goes by. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, it's 2 years later. Whoa, okay. And whenever they're resting for a couple months, like they'll skip some time. That happened in like the latest episode. And I don't know, it's really refreshing because it doesn't, you know, it doesn't mess around really with any of the stuff that it doesn't need to. I think it builds character when it needs to. And like, I'm gonna be completely honest, I'm really, really, really shocked at how emotionally engaged I am with the show, which is really rare for shonens, even really good ones.
Right.
Unless I've been watching for hundreds of episodes at that point.
Right.
But, like, I actually care about this fucking orphan kid and his family that died, and they don't, like, stop bringing it up because it isn't convenient anymore. Like, they keep bringing it up, and you're reminded, oh, shit, this is kind of heavy, actually, huh?
Yeah.
And I don't know, they do such, like, the writing is so good, I think, because it...
Yeah, I think it's so good. Yeah, it doesn't make it seem like, oh, it's there to, like, make you sympathize with the protagonist. It's there because it's, like, whenever he's reminded of it, it's because, or whenever you see it, it's because he sees something really specific that reminds him of his circumstances.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the intercutting is really good. You know what I think it is? This is my personal theory about it, where having read the manga, I think this holds true, where it a lot of battle shonen manga get to a point where, you know, you're ostensibly defeating like an evil bad guy because he's doing bad things. And, you know, you kind of lose sight of the core premise, I guess you could say. Like, Naruto is obviously like this, and Bleach is obviously like this. One Piece is not like this, but only because the premise is so wide and open and malleable, and he never loses sight of it, which is one of the reasons One Piece is so successful. But, like, I think the thing about Kimetsu no Yaiba that's really compelling is that it starts out from this core premise of, you know, this terrible tragedy that happens, but also it's very, like, humanistic. Like, it never forgets that all demons started out as humans, and it will remind you every time one dies that this was a person.
Yes.
And when you meet the antagonist, like, pretty early on, the main antagonist, and you see, like, kind of how he operates, it makes you really upset and immediately sort of riled up, because he's, like, obviously doing this to people that are unwilling, and they become demons and they can't, you know, control themselves, and they eat people. And it's a really interesting take on this sort of, like, vampire army mentality of, like, yes, I'm gonna make a vampire army. Usually you don't care.
Because usually when the vampires meet the protagonist, they are exterminated, and that's it, right? You don't get any more detail than that. And Kimetsu no Yaiba, it's like you said, they always show, like, a little bit, like, just enough of the backstory of the demon for you to know, like, what happened to them and why they ended up as a demon. And it's sad.
I also think it's an attitude towards how the characters interact with the demons as well. Because like, I think it's pretty easy to have, like, yes, this guy is a bad guy because people didn't like him, and, you know, his mom is dead or whatever, right?
Right.
And it can so easily veer into, like, I mean, I don't really care about this, do I?
Right. I love it too, because it's like, it speaks to why the author, like, framed it in terms of, this is why this is the main character, because it's not because he can, you know, fight and use a sword well. It's because he's in a unique position where he can empathize with demons, because his sister's a demon and he's trying to save her, and she's the only member of his family who's left, and he's trying so hard to save not just her, but other demons as well, and other people from becoming demons. And so that's what even despite all the flashy, you know, fight scenes or whatever, ultimately the fight is going to be about this kind of ideology for him. Yeah.
And they, like, that never stops either, right? Like, they have that moment where the orange boy is like, you like, you're like, I protected this even though I knew that you're keeping a demon in here, because like, you're, like, the kindest person I've ever met.
Right.
And, like, that, it carries so much weight to, like, this battle manga for the core premise to be kind to other people.
Yes.
It's kind of wild.
It's so great, though. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's so good. And I think the mangaka is female too, is what I've heard. I don't have, like,
that's what I've heard as well.
But that's what I've heard, and honestly, like, I could not be happier about that. Like,
I am here for that.
It's clearly, like, she's bringing something that, you know, all these dudes have not, and
successful Shonen Jump author who is also female,
and that's kind of fucking awesome.
Yeah,
because Kimetsu no Yaiba is, like, so good.
Yes,
like, every part of it is so good, and, like, you know, talking about the anime adaptation, it's adapted so well.
Yeah,
all the sword fights are they're so good to watch, and all the visual effects are really good. The sound is obviously fan-fucking-tastic. Yeah, every part of it is just so good.
And I think their use of CG actually served them well. You know?
Yeah. It is
Every
not
now and then it would be like bird, but like otherwise.
Oh, hey, look at that bird.
Otherwise, it'd be like, oh, rotating room makes sense, right?
Yeah. Some of the CG, you can tell it's CG, but it's not the worst it could be, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Could be worse. Definitely could be worse. Thanks, UFO Table, for doing CG okay, I guess. But yeah, I mean, like, it's been so long since I've been so engaged with a manga. Like, honestly, since the last time I read, My Hero Academia into the later chapters, and a little bit in the beginning when he's just like, you can be a hero, and he's like crying. That gets me. And then the later arcs with well, I'm not going to talk about that because that's not animated yet. But
yeah, how dare you spoil me?
But let's just say I had a big feels moment in the coming arc. But yeah, Kimetsu no Yaiba. Holy shit. It's like honestly, as good as Sarazanmai is, as like something that we're going to talk about next and has become one of my favorite things just sort of ever. It is on par with that. Like, it approaches its story so differently, but it's so good. Like, it's every part of it is so good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I recommend it.
I recommend it. I would not be opposed to doing an entire episode about Kimetsu no Yaiba because I think it's fantastic. Like, if you like shonen, fucking watch it. If you are tired of the shonen that you've been watching, definitely watch it.
Yeah.
If you wanna watch something that is like shonen battle manga, but they kind of always remember the core premise of it, definitely watch it.
Yeah. Alrighty. So next we have, as you mentioned, Sarazanmai.
Sarazanmai.
This stupidly beautiful show.
Oh, I love this show.
They went places with the story, and now I'm stupidly upset at the story being nice too.
It was so good. I think that this show deserves its own episode, but we will definitely talk about it here, and we're not going to hold things back just because we might do an episode on it in the future. But it is...
So, spoils
for sure. It's really intense, to say the least.
Boy, like, you think that you are like there's the weirdness from like episode 1, and you're like, okay, this is gonna be one of those shows that's just weird to be weird, but it's pretty, so watch it, I guess. But then the plot really opens up by episode 3, and it's like,
yeah, it gets even wilder.
And then it just spirals from there. Like, my goodness.
Yep. I enjoyed the structure of it a lot because for the first half is like Monster of the Week, and then for the second half it goes completely off the rails. Yeah,
like, wow. I feel like the pace like jumps quite a bit.
I think so too, and I think that's completely intentional.
Yeah, it's intentional, and because like they're ramping up for like the climax, which is like super bonkers, and
yep.
Also, the voice actor for Kiryu is in it, so
who does he voice?
He voices the doctor guy, the little doctor animal. I forget.
Oh, the otter.
The otter. Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Huh. Uso. Okay. All right. So Sarazanmai, if you don't know, and if you, I guess, didn't listen to our episode about the start of spring 2019, which is entirely possible and fair and valid, is about 3 boys who become kappas to stop kappa zombie crimes, which are things that affect the city in sort of a metaphysical way, but also in a physical way. And they have to do it by taking the desire orb in the butthole of the monster and then consuming it so that they can give it to the Kappa Prince of the Kappa Kingdom. So the premise is super weird, but it's, it's weird because it's also about like love and queer stuff and relationships and society. We live in a society. Did you know that?
Thank you.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So if you don't know, because you didn't listen to our episode, or if you have forgotten, the director of Sarazanmai is the director of Utena and Yurikuma Arashi and Mawaru Penguin Drum, which are very weird. They're all really, really weird, and they're all metaphors for queerness, basically, a little bit. They're
A little bit or a lot of it.
a little bit or a lot of it. Usually it's about like something, some like transgressive feature of society, which oftentimes is queerness because, Japan and also America and also kind of the world because fuck it. I don't know. Colonialism, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So Sarazanmai is one, beautifully animated all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
Two, written very, 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 very well all the way through. Three, I think the pacing ramps up in a really good way because it sets a rhythm for you to watch and then breaks it so that you get all disjumbled and feel disjointed like all the characters do, which I think is great.
Yeah.
I love all of the like weird shit that happens in it because it's super metaphorical and metaphysical and it gets really weird.
It's uncomfortable initially because it's so wildly different than
yeah
and also like kids, but
right,
once you because we are the way that we are in terms of being humans, we eventually get desensitized to certain things no matter how weird it is. Visually, like they start repeating like sequences and stuff like that, so you're like, okay, I'm kind of, I'm not as disturbed by the boys changing into Kappas and that whole process. Then that's when the plot starts like getting deeper,
mm-hmm.
and then it breaks the entire rhythm of it, right?
Yeah.
So it's compelling.
Yeah, it's really engaging, and just like the entire arc of it is really good. Like the way that all of the boys at the start are carrying boxes. Like I bet you forgot that was a thing. And then by the end of the series, they don't carry the boxes anymore because what they're carrying is their baggage, like their emotional baggage. And once they start sharing it with the other boys, it becomes like something they don't have to carry around anymore in that same way. And like, so it is about like memory and it's about like relationships and society. We live in one, but it's also about being gay. A lot, like
really gay.
Okay, so the whole thing about the show, and I read a great article about this that I will link because I don't want to take credit for ideas that are not mine. I do agree with him though, where it's a show about desire and love, right? That's the kind of central question of the otter sort of Kappa dichotomy, where like the otters are desire and they kind of manifest in as a metaphysical construct, literally in a way that is like just a shadowy government figure, government quote unquote. And the enemy of the show, the antagonist, is ostensibly desire, but it's never that easy. Like it's never that simple, where it's clear that you have to have desire and love in equal measure, and they have to be balanced with each other, because the desire is basically so how it works in the show is you get turned into a Kappa zombie because the two gay cops who were actually gay lovers in the Kappa Kingdom before the fall of the Kappa Kingdom that came under attack by the Otter Empire, sort of upset the whole thing. And then they got turned to the other side because one of them died and then was brought back to life by the Otters. Anyway, it's when your desire goes out of control and when there's no healthy outlet for it, and when you become a kappa zombie, basically, because all of the kappa zombies in the first half are basically people that have what are, I mean, we can call them like fetishes. They have like fetishes of a certain kind, but because there's no way for them to sort of express it in a healthy way, because they're, you know, alone and they have no connections with anybody, because making connections is hard. We live in a society. It's they manifest in twisted ways and in sometimes like really bizarre ways. Like the guy who's like shaving cats because he wants to be a cat, because he just wants to be like pet. So like you can see the pipeline from, you know, harmless desire to having no outlet for that desire to it becoming something twisted. And it comes around at the end when it turns out that it's also the case for the Kappa boys that love each other, where their desire also gets twisted into something because of, I mean, societal constraints, right? Because of the way that society views it and twists it and takes away any possible way for them to express it in a healthy way. And like, God, that's so good. It's written so well, and the metaphor works so powerfully, and like basically the characters can't connect with each other, the two gay kappas, because one loves the other, or they both love each other, but one of them gets brought back to life with a mechanical heart created by the otters. But if he expresses his love for the other one, he will die and explode, which is bad.
It's like a fairy tale.
So yeah, it's very much like this fairy tale where their desires cannot, you know, meet each other, and it sort of manifests in very like a very toxic relationship dynamic, and yet they can't, like, you know, get away from each other. But at the end of the show, they come back. Like, they sacrifice themselves, but they get to come back.
Yeah.
And that's like so important, because one of the most like amazing things about the show is this presenting of like, and in many ways this is kind of like a sort of Ava thing, where, like, you know, to live in a society and I keep saying it, but it's like, it's kind of true that Ava is like 100% about living in a society.
Yes, it is. That's what Shinji's all about, is him trying to live in society.
Right. But it's like, living in a society requires making connections, and that is a process that is not easy. It's hard and it hurts, and you will hurt people.
Yeah.
But like, it also doesn't need to be that hard. And it's made harder by people who will repress those desires societally, but also it imagines a future that is brighter for people who are able to make connections. And I, like, in many ways, that's why the main characters of the show are these like 14-year-old boys, because they represent a sort of like open future. You know, their whole lives are ahead of them. But for the adult cops, they too also get to embrace a new future once they embrace their feelings and their desires and their love for each other, because they're super gay.
Very.
Like, the fact that they get to live after all of that is incredible and different from many shows, which will just kill them and leave them dead to make a point, because, which sucks, and you gotta stop doing it. Like, there's so many, just stop it.
Yeah.
The fact that I was disappointed when they died, and then fucking ecstatic when they came back. And then they have this sequence where they show the boys this like potential future where they like fall out with each other, and like the one with the glasses confesses his feelings, and they just like kind of don't match and they don't align. But that's just one possible future, and that there's more, and that you can always work on your relationships to do more with them and to make them work. And everything about it is so good. Holy shit. Like, it is largely about transgressive ideas and desires and, you know, sort of socially taboo desires and the way that that can get twisted.
Yeah.
But it also shows how intimately that's tied up with being queer in societies that are repressive of that. And it imagines a future in which that doesn't have to be the case and that we can express it in a healthy way. And so it manages to be really gay in a way where, like, they don't necessarily have to become boyfriends and kiss all the time to show us that they're boyfriends. As much as that would be good, because we also don't have a lot of that. But it's like, it's explicitly queer in a way that isn't coy, but also isn't queerness as expressed only through boys kissing.
Right.
So, I don't know. I really appreciated Sarazanmai, and I thought it was, like, probably the best thing that came out this season, although Kimetsu no Yaiba is a very strong contender.
Yeah, I'm a little upsetty at how much I ended up really loving this show by the end.
Yeah, and it's only 11 episodes.
Yeah.
But it's paced perfectly.
Like, I'm really glad that we ended up watching it for the podcast, because I feel like I would have missed out on something really great if I had judged it from face value. Like, even despite loving how visually it looked, like, from the story standpoint, like, judging the story based on face value, I think I would have been sorely disappointed and at what I would have missed. Because it does, like, go so deep on the social commentary, and but also like just like human emotional exploration. And I'm really glad that we watched it. Like, I feel like anyone who drops it after like 1 or 2 episodes is already missing out, right? Because it goes so much further than that. Like, that's just like it is. It's just 1 to 2 episodes. That's only like barely scratching the surface of how deep this story goes.
Yeah, I think that, like, the thing about it is that there is an amount of social commentary that you can do.
Yeah.
Until it feels like kind of bad and not good.
Right. It's kind of like, contrived and forced and like.
But I think that the reason it's so good is because all of the themes and commentary and character writing and all that stuff is the show. It is. It's not in a way where it feels trivial, because I think it's so easy to have a very, like, shallow message about, well, we should, hold hands and connect with each other because that makes us better and stronger, right? It actually goes the lengths to show you that it means that and how to do that, and, like, it actually says something of value in a way that's not trite, and that is, like, I don't know if it's like anime has a pretty long history and a lot of really good shows, and I'm not going to dismiss the whole genre, but I think in a lot of ways, a lot of shows are very much like video games in that they don't necessarily engage with their themes in a way that is productive. I guess I would say, like, obviously there are many shows that do. A lot of them directed by this one person.
Yeah.
But I think on the whole, it's kind of easy to be safe with anime.
Right.
Because I think Sarazanmai is a show that could only come out in 2019 in the history of anime. But at the same time, it feels like it's still being transgressive and kind of like, I don't know, it feels like it's not the safest anime.
It's not.
Which,
by all means,
I kind of like that they're taking some risks with the themes.
Yeah, for sure.
I just love that they're willing to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think they told a good story as a result.
I think so too. I think the most compelling stories tend to be, like, really specific ones. Like, I think despite the message of Sarazanmai being sort of on a societal level, it approaches it from a very personal place, and I think that makes it something that is, like, really watchable for a lot of people. I think it's really engaging,
right?
Because you start to see that perspective instead of seeing like the preaching message, basically. Like,
yes,
it's very easy for a show to say like, well, you know, being mean is bad. But it's a lot harder for a show to like actually go the lengths to show you like sort of an individual perspective on it. And
it does that wonderfully in terms of like it'll show you like the symptom, and then it'll deep dive into what the cause is, right? It's like, why this person's such a weirdo, and or like this person's a pervert. It's like, okay, but why though? Like,
right, exactly.
Like, what happened to this person, or is there a specific cause, or maybe there was an incident? Like it does so well, and I love that it does this is because its theme is about desire and how that connects to your identity, and how it explores that from so many different angles with these boys, but also like with the characters that surround them. And yeah, it brings it up time and time again to the point that you're like, oh yeah, it makes sense that this character wants this thing because of this, you know, reason. Like it just follows so well.
Yeah. You know what? There's also like an element of it where I really like that it is like a yokai sort of story. Like it's very much a and I've definitely talked about this before, where I think that a lot of Japanese fantasy stories tend to be about a world that is another world that's kind of interacting with the present one. Where it's like a layer of fantasy over a layer of like modernity. They're called ikai stories, which I don't remember the translation for right now, but they're different from isekai, which is another world. Ikai is like a world of supernatural sort of layered over the current world. Anyway,
right.
But I think there's a lot of stuff that is like really good. There's a lot of stuff that's really interesting about that boundary, because it's like the crossing of the boundary and how the kind of like things flow from one world to another, right? Where, you know, the boys go in and they solve the monster of the week problem by, you know, beating the Kappa zombie with a cool song about connecting, and then they have a moment where their memories bleed into each other and they're forced to empathize with each other, basically.
Yeah.
And then they come back and they change as people. Right? Like there's a metaphorical journey from becoming human to becoming a Kappa, where like as a Kappa, you're sort of everything is a little bit more wibbly wobbly and like open to change. And like, yeah, the fact that they both metaphorically and actually change as characters, like that arc is really nice and really mapped out to how they move between these two worlds. Anyway, I think that's really interesting. Very cool. I love Sarazanmai.
Yeah.
Okay, now tell me about the thing that you watched.
I watched Baseball Boys. I watched Diamond no Ace Act 2. So they came out with another season of Diamond no Ace. And so I was like, I've always wanted to watch this anime. Let me catch up on all of it. So I watched all of the previous seasons of it and then caught up on this one. And now I'm probably going to watch more of it later tonight. But it's great. I think I might have mentioned this before, but the very, very first season starts off kind of annoying because you don't really know the characters very well. And the main character is like, remind me a lot of Asta from Black Clover, and in the way that he's just like the loud, obnoxious boy. And then later on, as they introduce more of the characters, you start feeling more attached, and then now I'm really, really attached to these characters to the point that if any of them gets injured, I'm like, But yeah, Act 2 is interesting because they for the first few seasons, they kind of like take it game by game in terms of like the pacing or whatever. Like they show like basically all of the game, right? And then Act 2, they start like kind of like montaging it. And I was not a fan because I really loved seeing all of the games and how they played out and all the character exploration. But they started glossing over a lot of stuff because I guess the scope of the team is a lot bigger now. Because at first, what they wanted to do was have the main character get inducted into the team, and then how does that work out? And then it becomes, oh, we want to go to the Koshien, and then now it's like, but now we want to be like number one in Japan. Yeah, and so now the stakes are much bigger, and they have lapsed a year already, so now they're getting new players into the team from like the new first year, and I am really excited. It's definitely not your kind of show at all, Soupy, but I love it.
Yeah, I don't.
Yep.
I don't like sports most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just say that it's a well drawn sports anime / manga. Like it's very, very well studied. So it's not like one of those like lazy kind of, I don't know, kind of hurts to watch kind of sports anime.
Yeah. I mean, you actually watch sports anime.
Yeah. So yeah, if you like even if you don't really like baseball, but you like kind of like shonen genre type of anime and you don't mind a sports anime, then I highly recommend this one because this one is super popular in Japan as well for obvious reasons. And what's cute is that at the end of episodes they'll have like a little splash card of drawings, and usually it's from the mangaka, but sometimes it'll be from guest artists. So like Clamp did one, and I was freaking out. They had like a little tiny Mokona on the main character's shoulder. I was like, freaking Clamp, mother ever! It was great. Yeah, that's all I have to say about it. It's baseball boys. I love them.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's it then. That's all we ended up watching. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the fact that neither of us wanted to continue watching Robihachi.
We did not want to continue, like go past episode 1 or even explore what it might have been about once they got into the spaceship.
I feel less than zero motivation to go back to it, to be honest, but maybe, I don't know.
Did you hear anything about it?
No, I heard zero about it.
Oh man, that's
I don't think I'm missing
not a good
much.
sign. Yeah,
I don't think I'm missing that much. But yeah, sorry, I just wanted to bring that up because I was, when I was writing the notes for this episode, I went back and I looked at what we started the season with, and I was like, I see. Okay. That's the only one we'll talk about specifically. If we didn't watch it, we probably didn't have time to. Oh, I did watch the half of Hitoribocchi. Still cute, still good, still funny.
Okay, good.
Just, I don't know. The thing is, I feel like the things that we watch as a group, unless it's like super funny, we don't really watch a lot of like hard comedy shows because they can tend to be like kind of samey, I guess.
Yeah.
But this is definitely like a light show that you could definitely watch if you didn't feel like engaging with something that's like heavy or anything.
Right.
Yeah, just watch this cute little adventure of this anxious anxiety ball girl and her friends. Yeah, I think that's I think that's it. Is there anything else you would like to say about any of the shows that we talked about?
I think it was a pretty good season overall. Like I like that we didn't have to juggle too much, Yeah. Like, it felt like a good amount.
It definitely felt like a manageable amount this season. Obviously Dororo started good last season and had a bit of a quality dip, so that's kind of whatever, but One Punch Man season 2 ended up being good. Fruits Basket remake is just great. I love it. Kimetsu was just fucking setting my pants on fire.
Light them.
Yeah, light them on fire. Sarazanmai, I dearly, dearly loved. I dearly, dearly loved it and everything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a good season for like a few specific shows that ended up being really good, I think.
Yeah.
It was not as like broad, which is honestly good because it's less work for us. Which is kind of nice. Like, we don't engage in like 90% of isekai, so I feel like the next couple seasons are going to be pretty easy.
What are we gonna do? It's gonna be me saying no to isekai, and then you being like, "Oh, I watched this. I read this."
Yeah. Cool. I mean, let's do some housekeeping, because it's been a little while since we've been together.
Housekeeping.
So, if you were not aware, we now have a Patreon. It's at patreon.com/atcast. I'm pretty sure. I'm going to check it real quick just to make sure.
Please check it. Oh my God.
It's at patreon.com/atcast. If you are listening to this on the day that it's released, which is all of you, except for some of you who are listening to it later, those people will see this too, though. But I'm getting really tangled up in logistics here. Whatever. We have a Patreon now. Thank you so much for supporting us, to the people who donate to us. We're like halfway to breaking even on operating costs, which is like wild.
That's super dope.
Because like I didn't even think that we would get like more than 2. So that's awesome. Like, thanks.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. If you pledge $5 or more, you can get access to the bonus content vault, which includes videos of us deciding which anime to watch, including watching the previews and reacting to them. So the first one of those is up now, and you can go look at it. It's like, I mean, if you want to watch like an hour and a half of us and some of our friends just kind of like saying a lot.
No. Yes. No.
There's a lot of stuff that doesn't look super good, and like we're probably not going to watch some of it unless someone tells us it's really good. But yeah, the first one of those should be up by the time that this is released. So definitely check that out. If you pledged $10 or more, we'll shout out your name at the end of the podcast, and we'll send you like a postcard every now and again. We don't promise every month, because that would be irresponsible. But every now and again.
Do we have people to shout out?
We do have people to shout out. We have one person to shout out, which is Gwen, who's donating $10 or more. Thank you for supporting the podcast since, I don't know, the beginning, I think, actually.
Oh, Penguin Gwen.
Yeah, Penguin Gwen. So, thanks. We'll send you a postcard.
That's very sweet.
At some time in the future.
Yeah.
That's probably the last time we'll like specifically talk about the podcast. I just want about the Patreon. I just wanted to do it now because we're both here now.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks so much for that. You can check out our podcast Twitter at AbsoluteCast on Twitter, where we will post stuff like episode news, and maybe if I like am late on an episode, which I probably shouldn't be anymore. Fingers crossed, because I'm not in school anymore. I don't have to do homework.
You're a NEET.
Yeah, I'm a NEET, so that's unfortunate. But yeah,
wear it like a badge of honor.
I'm tired of Earth. I'm gonna become a NEET in space. I'm gonna become a space NEET. Yeah. All right. Our opening is by Scott 2 Network, and our ending is by Takuma Okada. Thanks for listening.
We didn't talk about what we're gonna be up to.
Well, I was gonna go into that. I guess we usually talk about the opening intro after we. Okay, what are you up to this week? Since we're just gonna. Well, listen, we have a lot of new things to juggle. We'll hash out how we like do the outro eventually.
I can be found on Twitter and Tumblr and Facebook and all that jazz at SwanDrawn. My Instagram is swan.drawn. I'm going to be at MechaCon in a week from this recording.
Hell yeah.
And it's in New Orleans, which means I get to eat yummy food, and I'm so excited.
Jealous. Renu, you do not understand how unbelievably jealous I am.
Come over, Soup. We'll go.
How dare you? How dare you do this to me, Anit?
And I'll be over there with friends, fellow artist friends. That'll be awesome. And I'll be sending Soup pictures so I can make him jealous.
No. Why would you do this?
Because you did it to me when you went to freaking Oregon.
Well, that's true. That's true. Okay, funny. Little aside before we continue. When I was in Oregon, I found a little tiny place called like Renu Chiropractor or something, which was right next to a banh mi place, and I was like, Renu, you didn't tell me you moved to Oregon and started a chiropractor business.
I moonlight, you know.
You moonlight. You know, okay.
Girls gotta pay your bills.
I don't. Can I just be clear here? I don't actually know what your name means.
My name? My online handle?
Yeah, I don't know what Renu is.
It's a name I made up when I was younger because I liked the sounds.
Excuse me? Then why is there a chiropractor in Oregon with your name?
They stole it from my younger self, Abby.
That's fucking wild. Okay, there is more than one Renu in this world, and that is shocking to me for various reasons.
I'm also a contact solution,
really?
You know, business name as well. Yeah, there's
weird.
it's called I think it's pronounced like Renew rather than like Renu, but it's spelled the same.
That makes sense, but like maybe it's Renew Chiropractor. I guess that would make sense too. Like renew your body, but like they
renew your bod.
But you know, they say it in the most obnoxious way possible.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Sure.
But it's you. It's you, and you're branching out into both contact liquid and chiropractic.
Man, I'm an entrepreneur. Y'all don't even know.
What is the verb form of chiropractor? Is it like chiropracting? Chiropracticing? Chiropractor? Fuck it.
You're the English major.
I know, I studied the language and it's just so bad. Nothing in it makes sense. Like, the problem is that none of the words I'm saying sound right, which is the only way I know anything in English. Anyway, is there anything else you're up to? Is that it?
That's it. That's all I have in the coming weeks.
All right, sick.
Yep. How about you?
I, as I said before, am going to be on the river when this episode releases, and it's going to be super relaxing and super fun. And then I have to return to real life. And actually, that's not strictly true. I have a couple of events. Like, basically, we threw our graduation party for me, but now all my friends are throwing theirs, so I'm going to attend all of their graduation parties.
Oh.
And that's going to be super fun, actually. I think that's super cute. But that's kind of it. After that, it's like real life city, which is kind of a bummer. But hey,
okay.
Hopefully this interview that I did say goes well, because if it does, that would be just a big relief on my conscience.
Oh,
you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I'm up to, other than, you know, playing Granblue. Like, and by playing Granblue, I mean really playing Granblue, like grinding to grind.
Grinding to grind all them purple. Little violet prisms?
Something like
Purple
that. Rainbow prisms? I don't remember what they're
prisms?
called. I never want to see another one again after this, honestly speaking. Never. But I will probably have to, unfortunately, a lot. But it's okay. 10 a day is pretty reasonable as long as I don't do it every day. Or rather, as long as I do it every day, and as long as I don't have to do this thing that I'm doing too often, because it's really hurting me. But not as much as I thought it would be, to be honest. I thought it would be way more excruciating, and it's not, which, thank Jesus. That's all I'm up to. Thank you so much for listening. Even if you don't support us on Patreon, just the fact that you're listening warms our dear little hearts.
Means a lot, yeah.
We could not make the podcast without you, because then we would be talking to nobody, and that would be sad.
Well, you and I would be talking to each other into the ether.
That's true. It would be a nice like friend experience between us, where we would just get together and talk and pretend that people. This is getting sad.
People are listening.
This is getting really sad. I'm gonna stop right now. Thank you so much for listening. It's been like maybe 2 months since we've done it. Fuck, I don't know. We are the Majima Construction Company. We'll see it next time, where maybe I'll have listened to it another time before we record, which is possible. That's all.
Alrighty. Alrighty, I'm gonna shut this down.
また明日ね。